Her name was Marilyn. In 1953, she was photographed more than any woman on Earth. Every camera loved her. Every magazine wanted her. Studio executives built entire films around the way she looked in a dress that had been sewn directly onto her body because no zipper could close it fast enough. 36 inches at the chest, 22 at the waist, 35 at the hips. A figure so perfect that 70 years later, the global beauty industry is still trying to manufacture it in a laboratory and sell it back to you in a subscription box. But here's what they don't want you to know. Marilyn Monroe never counted a single calorie. She never owned a gym membership. She never tracked macros, never did cardio, never bought a meal replacement shake. She didn't know what intermittent fasting was, and she certainly didn't fear fat. What Marilyn had was a routine so beautifully simple, so completely opposite to everything the modern diet industry teaches, that revealing it feels like exposing a conspiracy. Because in many ways, it is one. The global weight loss industry is worth over $270 billion annually. It sells us the idea that beauty requires suffering, restriction, and a mathematical equation for every meal. But the ultimate beauty icon of the 20th century achieved her legendary figure by doing the exact opposite of everything they are selling you. Before we get to number 10, hit subscribe. This channel exists to uncover the truth that got buried under the marketing. If you're tired of an industry that profits from your insecurities, this is your way out. Hit that button, then let's go back to 1952. Number 10. She ate breakfast like it was medicine. It is 7:15 a.m., 1952. Marilyn Monroe is in her small apartment on Doheny Drive in West Hollywood. The kitchen contains a dozen eggs, a bottle of whole milk delivered that morning, and butter wrapped in paper from the dairy. She cracks 2 raw eggs into a glass of warm milk, stirs them with a fork, drinks it standing at the counter while the radio plays the morning weather. That is breakfast. We know this because she told us. In a documented 1952 interview with Pageant magazine, Monroe described her morning routine in exact detail. I start the day with a glass of warm milk with 2 raw eggs beaten into it. No cereal, no toast, no orange juice from a carton, no protein bar with 17 unpronounceable ingredients. 2 eggs, warm milk, done. The breakfast food industry in America is now worth over $50 billion annually. It sells convenience, speed, and nutrition claims printed on cardboard boxes. What it replaced was a 2-ingredient meal that cost less than 25 cents in 1952 and delivered complete protein, natural fat, and sustained energy through mechanisms that haven't changed since the human body was designed. Research published in the International Journal of Obesity found that high-protein morning meals reduce total daily caloric intake by up to 400 calories without any conscious restriction. The body simply stopped asking for more because it had received what it actually needed. Marilyn Monroe didn't read that study. Her appetite told her the same thing at noon every day. The cereal aisle at your grocery store contains over 200 products. Everyone was invented to replace something that required no packaging, no factory, no marketing budget. The 2 eggs Monroe drank every morning cannot be trademarked. The box they eventually sold you instead generates $10 billion annually for a single company. She never bought the box. She never needed it. Number 9. She mastered intermittent fasting without knowing it after her morning eggs and milk. Marilyn went to work. She spent hours on film sets under hot lights, memorizing lines, doing multiple takes, completely absorbed in her craft. And she almost never ate lunch. Today, Silicon Valley executives pay thousands to nutritionists to design their eating windows. Apps charge $10 monthly to remind you not to eat. We call it intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating, and it's a $4 billion industry. Marilyn didn't have an app. She just wasn't hungry, and she was busy. The 1950s hadn't yet engineered a snacking culture. There were no break rooms filled with donuts, no vending machines dispensing 300-calorie bags of processed corn. The American snack food industry was essentially non-existent. Doritos arrived in 1966, Pringles in 1968. By naturally skipping lunch, Marilyn's body tapped into its own fat stores for energy. She didn't do this from discipline. She did it because the environment hadn't yet been organized around forcing food into her face every 2 hours. Her eating pattern, substantial breakfast, late dinner, nothing in between, is exactly what modern research shows optimizes metabolism and maintains stable weight. The meal replacement industry is now worth $16 billion. Marilyn's schedule cost nothing and required nothing. Number 8. She ate real fat and never apologized. Here's what Marilyn Monroe's kitchen contained in 1953 that your kitchen has probably been told to eliminate. Butter, heavy cream, whole milk, the natural fat that came attached to the meat she bought from the butcher, real cheese, olive oil she used without measuring. She ate all of it, every day, without a gram of guilt. Her documented dinner routine included broiled steak or chicken, vegetables cooked in butter, and occasionally real ice cream made from cream, eggs, and sugar, not 17 stabilizers and a photograph of a dairy farm on the label. In 1977, the United States government published dietary guidelines recommending Americans reduce fat intake. The food industry's response was immediate and catastrophic. Fat was stripped from products across every category. Something had to replace it to maintain flavor and texture. That something was sugar. Low-fat yogurt contains more sugar per serving than a glazed donut. Fat-free salad dressing replaces the oil that helps your body absorb vitamins with high-fructose corn syrup. Reduced-fat peanut butter removes natural fat and fills the gap with added sugar and modified starches. The low-fat food category is now worth $250 billion annually. Marilyn Monroe never participated because none of it existed yet. She ate the butter. She ate the cream. She wore the same dress size for her entire career. The women who replaced her butter with margarine did not get thinner. The data is no longer contested. The generation that followed the 1977 guidelines became the heaviest in recorded American history. Monroe kept the butter. She never read the guidelines. The guidelines were wrong. Number 7. She drank calories only when they mattered. The beverage situation in Marilyn Monroe's kitchen was straightforward to the point of being boring. Water, whole milk, black coffee in the morning, occasionally champagne at a party because she was Marilyn Monroe and it was 1952. That was the list. It was short. It was right. The global beverage industry today, sweetened sodas, energy drinks, flavored waters, bottled teas, is worth over $300 billion. Every dollar was built on the gap between what the human body needs to drink and what they convinced it to want instead. A standard 20-ounce Coca-Cola contains 240 calories. Monroe's era offered a 5-ounce bottle, the only size available, that appeared at social occasions. Today's convenience stores sell 44-ounce fountain drinks as standard options. Research from Harvard School of Public Health found that liquid calories produce significantly weaker satiety responses than solid food calories. You consume them in addition to everything else, not instead of it. Monroe's body never processed a 500-calorie Frappuccino at 10 a.m. because it hadn't been invented yet. Her coffee was coffee, 2 calories in a ceramic mug, finished by 8:30. Water cannot be trademarked. Milk cannot support a $300 billion industry. Something else had to be invented. It was. And it's sitting in your refrigerator right now with a label claiming it's helping you. Number 6. She moved like a human, not a machine in 1952. The word exercise meant something soldiers did before dawn. For a woman in West Hollywood, it had no category, no schedule, no monthly fee. Marilyn Monroe moved because she lived. She walked to the market on Sunset Boulevard. She carried her groceries. She climbed stairs in her apartment building. She spent hours on film sets standing, repositioning, doing takes that required full physical presence. She also documented in photographs, lifted weights at Muscle Beach in Santa Monica, one of the few places where women trained with weights openly. She used dumbbells without a personal trainer, fitness app, or heart rate monitor. She had weights, a beach, and the understanding that her body was meant to be used, not managed. Research published in Science magazine documented that NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, calories burned through ordinary daily movement, accounts for up to 2,000 calories of daily variance between individuals. The 1950s woman burned those calories before anyone invented the gym membership shed need to replace them. The American fitness industry is now worth $35 billion. It sells you back, at a monthly fee, the movement that was simply included in daily life until automobiles, elevators, desk jobs, and delivery apps systematically removed every reason to use your body. Monroe's neighborhood was her gym. Her life was her workout. She never paid a monthly fee for either. Number 5. She never snacked. Not once. The kitchen in Marilyn Monroe's apartment had a rhythm that required no enforcement. You ate at mealtimes. Between meals, the kitchen was not a destination. Hunger between meals wasn't a problem Monroe solved with a handful of something from a bag. It was information. It meant dinner would taste exactly as dinner was supposed to taste. In 1952, the American snack food industry was essentially non-existent. The entire architecture of between-meal eating, vending machines, desk drawer snacks, car cup holders designed for bags, hadn't been built because there was no product to fill it. The snack food industry today is worth $108 billion. It grew through a mechanism that deserves clear statement. It first engineered a form of hunger that didn't previously exist, then sold the product to fill the hunger it created. Ultra-processed snack foods are formulated to hit the bliss point, the precise combination of salt, sugar, and fat that triggers brain reward pathways without triggering satiety signals. You can eat an entire bag and feel less satisfied than before you opened it. Monroe never had the product. She never had the problem either. Her appetite arrived at mealtimes, was satisfied at mealtimes, and stayed quiet between. Not from superhuman discipline, but because nobody had yet manufactured the thing designed to destroy that quiet. Number 4. Sugar was an event, not an ingredient. There was a sugar bowl on Marilyn Monroe's kitchen table in 1952. Visible, available, never hidden. Nobody counted grams, because nobody needed to. Per capita added sugar consumption in America in 1952. Approximately 23 pounds per year. Today, 57 pounds. The gap isn't explained by dessert or candy or birthday cake. It's explained by bread, pasta sauce, peanut butter, salad dressing, the 22-ingredient jarred tomato sauce containing high-fructose corn syrup in a recipe that requires 4 ingredients and has required exactly 4 since the first Italian grandmother made it. Monroe's dessert was real, a small dish of ice cream at Will Wright's parlor, a piece of actual cake at an actual occasion, sugar that appeared when it was supposed to appear and meant something because it was rare enough to mean something. High-fructose corn syrup was introduced commercially in 1975. Before 1975, it didn't exist in the food supply. After 1975, it entered bread, condiments, beverages, cereals, crackers, and hundreds of products where no consumer agreed to put it. The corn syrup industry is worth over $4 billion annually. Every dollar represents sugar inserted into products that didn't previously contain sugar, sold to consumers who didn't ask for it, processed by bodies with no evolutionary mechanism for handling it at this volume. Monroe's sugar was visible. It was in the bowl. She knew exactly how much she was adding because she was the one adding it. The sugar in your food today is invisible. It's in everything. Nobody asked you. Number 3. She cooked real food from real ingredients. The pantry in Marilyn Monroe's kitchen held things recognizable as food without reading a label. Eggs, butter, flour, olive oil, fresh meat from the butcher, vegetables from the market, milk delivered in glass bottles that morning. These required preparation. That preparation was protection. When you make food from scratch, there's no modified starch in the chicken because you didn't put it there. There's no carrageenan in the soup because it came from yesterday's bones and today's vegetables, not from a can with 31 ingredients. Monroe's documented meals were austere in their simplicity. Broiled protein, cooked vegetables, occasionally something sweet. The simplicity wasn't a diet strategy. It was the default condition of a kitchen not yet infiltrated by the processed food industry. A study in public health nutrition found that people who cooked at home consumed an average of 150 fewer calories per meal than those relying on prepared food. Not from effort or restriction, from structure. Home-cooked food is architecturally less calorie-dense because the person making it has no financial incentive to engineer it to the bliss point. The processed food industry is worth $6 trillion. It employs food scientists whose specific job is making their products more compelling than anything you could make yourself. They have unlimited research budgets, decades of behavioral data, and direct financial interest in ensuring you find their product more satisfying than your own cooking. Monroe's broiled chicken had none of those advantages. It was just chicken. It was enough. The dress still fit. Number 2. She ate without fear. In 1952, Marilyn Monroe sat down to eat without consulting an app, calculating a number, reading a label, or asking whether this food was approved or forbidden. She didn't experience the particular modern anxiety that arrives before a meal and lingers after it. She ate butter without guilt, ice cream without shame. Steak and cream and whole milk, and real cheese without any of the psychological static that now surrounds eating for hundreds of millions of people. That psychological static isn't accidental. It's a product. The diet industry in America is worth $90 billion annually. It sells weight loss programs, meal replacement shakes, calorie counting apps, point systems, and the specific emotional experience of believing your body is a problem requiring constant management. It's the most brilliantly engineered product in commerce history because it guarantees its own repeat purchase. A weight loss system that permanently worked would destroy the industry selling it. The industry survives on partial results, temporary compliance, and guilt following inevitable failure of systems designed to be unsustainable. Monroe never bought the product, not from superior willpower, but because the product hadn't been invented and the food environment hadn't been engineered to make her body something she needed to fight. She wasn't thin because she was disciplined. She was thin because the world she lived in hadn't yet systematically replaced real food with manufactured food, natural movement with sedentary infrastructure, and ordinary eating with a psychological battlefield designed to generate revenue from insecurity. Number 1. Her diet plan was never for sale. This is what the modern industry most needs you to forget. Marilyn Monroe never sold you a diet. No book, no branded meal plan, no shakes with her name on the label. No Monroe Method subscription program. When Pageant magazine printed her daily routine, it wasn't a marketing funnel. It was curiosity about how a star lived off camera. Her routine was inexpensive, uncomplicated, mostly unprocessed, and completely unmonetized. The wellness industry that grew after her realized something she never tried to capitalize on. If you can convince people their body is wrong, food is confusing, and only experts can be trusted, you can build an empire selling them what they already had. Real breakfast, real meals, movement woven into life, sugar as occasional pleasure, home-cooked food, smaller portions, fewer snacks, simpler drinks. Marilyn's habits would make almost no money today. They don't require an app, a coach, a special product, or recurring subscription. They require a world that doesn't constantly interrupt your hunger, hijack your attention, and whisper maybe you need a snack every 15 minutes. Marilyn Monroe died in 1962 at 36 years old, for reasons having nothing to do with food. Her story is complicated, tragic, and far bigger than her figure. But her routine, the quiet, unglamorous way she actually ate and moved, still teaches a world that's overfed, undernourished, and exhausted by dieting. What changed between 1952 and today isn't human biology. Our bodies still thrive on exactly what Marilyn's thrived on. Whole foods, adequate protein, healthy fats, deep rest. What changed is who gets paid when you forget how simple it used to be.